In one of my personally most anticipated matchups for day 2 of the play-in stage, Group A powerhouse Fnatic go off against the Japanese giants in DetonatioN FocusMe. I think this is a great way to test what's been working so far in this world meta and see how DFM's flair can potentially stand against it. If you enjoyed this video, would appreciate sub for more content like this. Well, let's hop into the draft. Draft kicks off, and in phase 1, Fnatic bans out Hecarim, Akali, and Caitlyn, while DFM ban out Graves, Kalista, and Draven. The only ban to really note here, in my opinion, is the Akali, which has been more and more impressive in the mid lane as more teams have been playing it. It stabilizes many matchups right now, and ever since the main offenders in these hypercarry ADCs in the durability meta have been nerfed, we now see Akali coming back up as a great pick for her team fighting and relative ease of execution. Out of the bans, Fnatic open up with Aatrox, nothing too special here. DFM respond here with a Trundle pick straight away along with Victor. I'd say this is a pretty interesting priority on the Trundle, but since Graves has been removed, it is technically likely the best and slot remaining jungle pick in terms of being able to secure a winning facilitator champion no matter what. I'm also a fairly decent fan of Victor overall for teams since he can do well into most matchups without needing to worry too much. Fnatic respond in B2, B3 with Hylissang and LeBlanc. Hylissang is a classic take here for many teams because he's one of those champions that just volunteers for a normally losing matchup and then tries to outplay it in order to compensate for it. Since there's no champ that can really beat Trundle at this point anyway, this is probably one of the better champions you can pick, so I'm a bit of a fan of this. LeBlanc also helps supplement his style of aggression, giving a Fnatic a strong mid-jungle duel to pretty much power any composition they want to pivot for through their bottom lane. In R3, DFM snag Misfortune. Right now, it just appears that DFM's comp is looking to stat check with excellent overall team fighting with a bunch of all-rounder picks. Not a bad premise to start, so it's on them to be able to make sure they hedge against any potential comp pivots that Fnatic can bring on in the B4, B5. The main thing I'd be concerned about coming into the second phase of bans is that Fnatic can pick forward champs to absolutely crush this Misfortune. Nautilus specifically comes into mind here as a champion that can guarantee a disruption of the bullet time. That's the biggest thing with him compared to these other engaged champions, so things like Leona, Alistar, or even Rel are much more playable for MF instead. DFM also bans Sejuani, which is an interesting choice to get rid of a topside matchup for DFM. I don't actually think this is that necessary in terms of the matchup, as Aatrox should be able to fare well into this, so it's most likely a concern for team fighting or some sort of tech that DFM has into it. DFM returned with a Pyke ban, which is super interesting and just has to be some sort of indication from scrims or something if they are banning this over all the other potential picks they can go for, engage supports, forward AD carries, things like that. Fnatic respond in kind with a Yuumi ban, which just hedges slightly against the MF Yuumi combo. DFM's comp currently requires CC in the support slot anyways right now, so they could have invested their ban to continue choking the support pool of CC champions, or even get rid of strong team fighting champions like Ornn or Gnar on topside, just to ensure that DFM can't get the types of fights that they're necessarily looking for. For R4, DFM hands over Cannon for Evi, which is a neutralizing weak side matchup into the Aatrox, and I like it. DFM is aware that they will be spending most of the resources into protecting bot side, while also contributing to the strong team fighting they'll need. Lots of AoE and lots of flexibility in playing in either direction. As predicted, Fnatic invests their B4, B5 with Kai'Sa and actually Maokai, so it pretty much establishes that Fnatic really wanted to delete both MF and Victor, and that is probably the correct mindset here. Do note that this is Maokai support as well. We quickly push to R5 and DFM round out with Alistar, which is the engaged support remaining that also brings a bit more disengage when required. Headbutting to peel and being able to survive elongated fights with his ultimate are what causes teams to pick Alistar over champions like Leona or etc, and picking Leona here would make their team comp very weak to cleanse. Overall, I think the draft has a very clear divide in the goals that each team has. Fnatic are looking to delete priority targets on the side of DFM, while DFM themselves are investing their resources to try and prevent that and play fights on their own terms. This is a classic dynamic of one team having stronger overall team fighting under normal conditions, but the job of the other team composition is to specifically create fights where these conditions aren't really met. Because of this, I'd honestly rate this draft pretty close to a 50-50. If I had to choose, it'd probably just slightly lean towards the side of DFM here, just for the sake of ease of execution and the incredible scaling that we have, but just slightly though. I trust that Fnatic are a team that have a really good sense on how to execute these fights though, but DFM's draft is going to give them a hell of a time for it. As always, hopefully this video was insightful to you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.